consecutive.
Well, it was, in these cases, the state is allowed by statute to consider the wishes of the families, obviously, but also in the context of civil litigation. Okay, and there's a specific statute that says that we can acquiesce to their wishes in settling a case beyond what we would perhaps normally do if that's what the family wants. And so what we agreed to do once they reached the plea agreement and we acquiesced into what was worked out. So the defendant in the civil case gave a deposition and was cross-examined by the other side in the civil case. And as part of that, then they agreed to the 7 years. There's a specific statute, like I said, that allows us to acquiesce and say, we're fine with that. And that's what we did in this case. I'm not going to subject what my view of justice is for the victims, okay? To some families, justice may be as much time penitentiary as they can get, but practically to others, it may be a college fund for this child, support and help that could have otherwise been provided by the lost loved one. And then I'm not going to presume to step in front of that for my own glorification. So they asked me to acquiesce and go along with that, and I was happy to do that.
Okay. So how much time has she served exactly? I know it's time served. So what kind of parole date are we looking at potentially?
I have made a long practice of not trying to speculate as to parole because invariably I get it wrong. As a defense lawyer, I told my clients, if you're pleading to 7 years, you just pretend you're going to be doing 7 years and be happy when they say, hey, guess what, you get out tomorrow. I really don't know. But there is no deadly weapon finding by the agreement, and so it's up to TDCJ.
Taking that deadly language out.
Right.
Was that what allowed the 7 years, or did that help that along, or how did that play into?
Well, deadly weapon finding just affects parole. Okay, it makes it what we used to call a 3G offense. They renumbered the statute. We still call it that, which said that you had to do your time, at least half of your time, until you were eligible for parole. So it would have meant she had to do half of 7 years, and then she would become eligible for parole. But I've had clients that they can get extended for picking up cases for throwing trash on the ground in the yard and lose good time credit. There's a million ways they can lose good time credit. So that's the mystery of the parole system. But what that does is it just says it's not mandatory that she do half of that 7 years before parole eligibility.
Okay.
So.
I'm assuming she's done almost 3 years at this point. So
2 and something, not quite 3 years, yeah.
So I know how you feel about it. I'm not standing in the way of maybe a college fund for the little girl that lost her dad. What would you say to community members who maybe say 7 years, a little lenient for 2 lives lost?
I would say the same thing I say to my young prosecutors. The fire eaters, and they're going to go and get justice. I say, read the indictment. It says, in the face of the indictment, caused the death by causing the car to collide with the car of another person by reason of intoxication and by accident or mistake. This is a non-mens rea crime. Maybe a third-degree crime, maybe a second-degree crime, but it's not an intentional crime. And I think it makes more sense for us to save our big energies for the people that intentionally cause harm in our communities and not the ones that do that by accident or mistake, still violating societal norms, still violating the law, but maybe, and that's a struggle, quite frankly. It's a struggle that we have to go through. And so that's why we turn to the victims and let them have their say on this, and that's why we were willing to acquiesce today.
Okay. Talking about going after the ones that make things happen. This case could change the way people serve alcohol. People,
I hope it does.
Yeah. What do you see coming out of this?
Oh, if I had a crystal ball, I would be retired in the Bahamas with an umbrella drink. But my hope would be that the business owners see that there is a consequence, can be a consequence, that TABC continues to do the great work that they do, and just citizens realize it's too easy to get on my phone and call an Uber. It's too easy to get on my phone and call a taxi. It's too easy to get on my phone and call mom or dad or my brother to come pick me up. It's just not worth the risk. And, I'm amazed, and I hope that people will take advantage of the modern conveniences like Uber, like Lyft, like Yellow Cabs and all the other cab companies here. And yeah, it's a 1 in a million shot that something bad's going to happen. But when it does, it hurts, and it hurts everybody.
Is there anything else you want to add?
It was an emotional day for all of us in the DA's office, everybody in that courtroom, for Judge Klein. These are tragic stories, and our hearts go out to both families, all 3 families on the victim side, and the family of the defendant. She has young children too, and she's already been away from it for a long time, already missed a big chunk of their life. Not as severe as on the other side, but by any means. But
there's victims on all sides.
There's victims on all sides, and it's preventable. And we would really like to, and I'd like to thank DPS for having that car down there on that up ramp that is not an up ramp, but was being used as an up ramp to get people the wrong way on the Harbor Bridge. And they've done a lot of good work, and it's got to be kind of boring to sit there in that car, but it made a difference, and I think it makes a difference until the traffic patterns can be rearranged. My heart goes out to both sides, especially the victim's family. I'm very proud of my victim assistant coordinator, Pearl, for doing what she's done. But it's heart-wrenching to sit there and listen to those victim impact statements. And I know everybody in that room had one in their heart. So I wish them all peace and healing.